In the previous video, we looked at how we can use the Generate Silence tool to remove very specific noises from the audio track. In this video, we'll be looking at how we can use another tool to mute an audio track, but in a way that's more gradual. It's called the envelope tool. So, to illustrate this example, I have two audio tracks here open in Audacity. I have my first introduction bit of text, which I have used previously, and I have the music file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to have that music file play at the start, and then the spoken part slowly merge into that audio file. So as it is, let's try to see what it sounds like at the moment. In the next 10 videos, we will cover the basics of podcast editing using Audacity and explore how post-production will make a podcast. Right, so first of all, there's a big problem. The music file is a lot louder than the spoken part. So we can easily adjust that by reducing the gain for the music file, and we will increase the gain for the voice. So let's see how that sounds now. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. In the next 10 videos, we will cover the basics of podcast editing using Audacity. So that's better. The voice is probably a bit too loud, but the music's about right. The way that it starts is not ideal because we have the voice and the music start at the same time. It's a little bit abrupt. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to push that voice slightly, so that's about 5 seconds to the right. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to move this down so that I have the audio file at the top. Let's zoom in a little bit. So 5 seconds, let's say I want to have 5 seconds of the music play. Let's see how that sounds. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. Probably a little bit long, so I'm gonna push this back here. So welcome to ABP's podcast editing. If you want to be pedantic about it, you can kind of link the start of the voice with a beat in the music, which I think might be a couple of seconds earlier. So let's say for now you can fine tune your own, but let's say that at the moment this is what we want to use. Alright, so we have the introduction music and then we have the text coming up. Now we don't want the music to cover what I'm saying in the text, as I know that we can adjust the different volumes. It's still a little bit distracting to listen to what the speaker has to say when there's loud music playing at the back. This is where our tool comes in, the envelope tool. So what does an envelope tool do? So this is the envelope tool here. So the envelope tool is just a way that you can change the amplitude of an audio track over time. So let's see how it works. Remember when I introduced the idea of a waveform, I said that the height of these peaks of these lines represents the volume of that track. So what we want to do is actually increase or decrease that volume over time. So let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to select on the envelope tool. So make sure first of all that I'm selecting this track because that's the one that I want to apply the envelope to. Select the envelope tool and I want to have a starting point. So this is where my envelope is going to start and I want to have an end point. It can be a little bit, it doesn't have to be super accurate for now because you can still change these points later. I'm going to zoom out. So let's say that I want the music to be playing for the whole duration of when I'm speaking, but I want it to be relatively quiet towards the end. So that second point that I've clicked, I can actually click on it and actually drag it down. Okay, sometimes it can go a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little. All right. I can keep dragging this down, and you can see that the lines are being made shorter within that envelope. So now if we play that audio, I'm going to start that a little bit earlier. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. In the next 10 videos, we will cover the basics of podcast editing using Audacity and explore how post-production can make your podcast sound professional and engaging. In this first episode, we will explore... So that's not bad. You can always... If you want the... I just left the music playing until the end, but if you want the music to stop at some point, you can just easily... Just going to keep zooming out so that I get to the end. Oops. You can just have another point here and make sure that towards the end you have it completely reduces the sound. Now, it can be a little bit tricky because the visual representation of the sound level does not necessarily match what you will hear. So it may sound like there's hardly anything at the end visually, but it is possible that you will still be able to hear the sound. So if there's some point where you don't want to hear the sound anymore, you can just apply a silence like we did in the previous video. If the volume's low enough towards this end, you won't, and especially if other people are talking over the music, you won't actually hear the abrupt transition in the music. Or if you do, you might have to readjust that envelope a little bit. So I want to make a couple of more changes. I want to actually move this a little bit further because I want the volume to start reducing after I started speaking. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's a matter of preference. It depends on the kind of music that you have. It depends on the words that you're saying and the tone of the voice. But I think that in this case, it makes sense for the music to keep playing a little bit. Oops, I didn't want that to happen. The music to keep playing a little bit over the voice. So let's hear that. Welcome to... Started from earlier. Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. In the next 10 videos, we will cover the basics of podcast editing using Audacity and explore how post-production can make your podcast sound professional and engaging. In this first episode, we will explore the user interface and how to import files into the program. So that's not bad. It's a very easy way to integrate music with the voice, and the way that you merge one with the other, you can create a very different dynamic from just having Welcome to ABP's podcast editing video series. Someone talking. So if you only have like a voice intro, it can sound very dry, but if you have some music, it will grab your listeners' attention and make it more interesting for them. Now, something that you need also to know is that envelope tool also works in the other way. If you want to fade into something, and if you want to, I'm just going to show you, unmute that. I'm just going to use the envelope tool again. If I want to then increase the noise again, so it's going back down because I have a control point here, you can absolutely do that. So it doesn't just work in terms of making something quieter, it also works to make things louder if you wanted to. Right, so the envelope tool is very useful in that sense. If you have a music track that you want to fade in and out, or if you have other things that you might want to fade in and out, the envelope tool is perfect for this.